Hello and welcome. I'm Neha Khanna and you're watching America 360. On the show tonight, could we see government departments in the US firing employees on a massive scale in the event of a government shutdown? President Trump has called for arrests of UN staffers over what he describes as sinister glitches at the UN building. And why does the London mayor think that Donald Trump has a crush on him? All that in just a moment. But first, let's tell you what's happening at the White House. The White House is planning mass firings if the government shuts down, and it's targeting jobs that do not align with Trump's agenda. Federal agencies have been told to identify programs that can be slashed if Congress fails to act by the 30th of September. This isn't a routine shutdown warning. It's a direct threat to thousands of federal employees across the country. The memo suggests permanent cuts for positions deemed not consistent with Trump's priorities. Senate Minority Leader Democrat Chuck Schumer has called it intimidation, accusing the president of using firings to scare the workforce. As Democrats demand protections and other concessions, tensions are escalating fast. The looming threat of job losses is adding fuel to the political standoff, and ordinary Americans could feel the impact. This is shaping up as one of the most aggressive shutdown strategies in recent history. Did someone try to sabotage President Trump at the UN General Assembly? Well, he certainly seems to think so, and is now calling it a triple attack and a sinister act. First, the escalator carrying him and First Lady Melania mysteriously jammed. Was that a sinister act or simply a glitch? Then, his teleprompter went dark mid-speech, forcing him to improvise. He ended up delivering a 57-minute-long speech. To make matters worse, audio failures left world leaders struggling to hear the US president. Trump is now demanding a full investigation, claiming these sinister incidents were deliberate. UN officials have pushed back, saying the escalator malfunction was the fault of a member of Trump's own team. Chaos, malfunctions and accusations. The UN stage seems to have turned into a battleground overnight. Watch this report as we break down every moment of Trump's disrupted UN appearance.
The Assembly will hear an address by His Excellency Donald Trump, President of the United States of America.
U.S. President Donald Trump's appearance at United Nations General Assembly, UNGA, on September 23rd made global headlines. But not for his fiery speech, but for other unusual incidents. First, Trump and First Lady Melania were stuck inside the UNHQ in New York after the escalator stopped working.
Very much appreciated.
Second, Trump's teleprompter went off when he was addressing the world.
And I don't mind making this speech without a teleprompter, because the teleprompter is not working.
And third, an audio issue erupted in the auditorium during Trump's address.
All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle, and then a teleprompter that didn't work. These are the two things I got from the United Nations, a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter. Thank you very much. That being the case, what is the purpose of the United Nations?
These incidents made the U.S. president furious. Trump is now claiming that it was a triple sabotage, sinister event, and demanded an investigation. In a long and explosive post on Truth Social, Trump called it a real disgrace. He called it an absolute sabotage and demanded arrest of those behind it. Trump said he delivered a 57-minute speech without the teleprompter, which resumed functioning about 15 minutes later. The POTUS further revealed what went through his mind during the incidents. Not just Trump, but his administration has also come out with all guns blazing targeting the UN. Mike Waltz, U.S. ambassador to the UN, echoed Trump's call for an official probe, saying the incidents were unacceptable. Waltz said these lapses are unacceptable and pose serious safety and security risks. He added that the U.S. will not tolerate threats to our security or dignity at international forums. We expect swift cooperation and decisive action. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said if someone did this purposely, then that person needs to be fired immediately. However, UN officials blame Trump's team for the escalator fiasco. Stefan Dujarric, the UN spokesman, said a videographer from the U.S. delegation who ran ahead of him triggered the stop mechanism at the top of the escalator. Regardless of what led to these incidents, it's not unusual for escalators at the UN to stop working, the teleprompter to go off, and a glitch in the sound system.
Something unexpected just happened at the UN General Assembly. Brazil's president, Lula da Silva, and Donald Trump shared a surprising backstage moment. Reporters were stunned as the two leaders hinted at personal chemistry during a brief 39-second exchange. Lula called it friendly, while Trump joked they liked each other and even agreed to meet next week. This light-hearted banter comes amid serious tensions between the two leaders over trade, sovereignty, and US foreign policy. The world watched as rivals suddenly showed warmth, and it left everyone talking. Could this handshake signal a thaw in relations, or was it just a fleeting moment of diplomatic theatre?
I was caught by surprise because I had just finished my speech. I was already about to leave. I was going to grab my notes and go when Trump came over to me, with a very friendly, very pleasant look on his face, and I think there was really some chemistry there.
But we did talk. We had a good talk, and we agreed to meet next week, if that's of interest. But he seemed like a very nice man, actually. He liked me, I liked him. But if you, and I only do business with people I like. When I don't like them, I don't like them. But we had, at least for about 39 seconds, we had excellent chemistry. It's a good sign.
I was caught by surprise because I had just finished my speech. I was already about to leave. I was going to grab my notes and go when Trump came over to me, with a very friendly, very pleasant look on his face, and I think there was really some chemistry there. I think so. I can't understand why the world, wants to destroy when we need. Look, we have to sit down, put all the issues on the table, the problems he has regarding Brazil, the problems I have regarding the United States, and from there we start to discuss. Look, what is not up for discussion is Brazilian sovereignty. And our democracy, that's not up for discussion. Not with President Trump, nor with any president in the world. It's no longer about the president saying, I think, I believe. No, what's at stake? We discuss our rare earths with the whole world. We want to discuss our critical minerals with the whole world. We want companies that want to explore to go to Brazil and explore. What we don't want is to allow what has happened so far with minerals to keep happening. We're just exporters, just exporters, just exporters. And we don't carry out the industrialization process within Brazil.
Brazil now faces major tariffs in response to its unprecedented efforts to interfere in the rights and freedoms of our American citizens and others, with censorship, repression, weaponization, judicial corruption, and targeting of political critics in the United States. I have a little problem saying this because I must tell you, I was walking in and the leader of Brazil was walking out. We saw him and I saw him, he saw me, and we embraced. And then I'm saying, can you believe I'm going to be saying this in just 2 minutes? But we actually agreed that we would meet next week. We didn't have much time to talk, like about 20 seconds. They were in retrospect, I'm glad I waited because this thing didn't work out too well. But we did talk, we had a good talk, and we agreed to meet next week, if that's of interest. But he seemed like a very nice man, actually. He liked me, I liked him. But if you, and I only do business with people I like. When I don't like them, I don't like them. But we had, at least for about 39 seconds, we had excellent chemistry. It's a good sign.
A gunman storms the Dallas ICE facility. 1 detainee dead, 3 shot. Chaos inside. Shell casings engraved with the words anti-ICE turned the episode into a chilling political statement. The shooter, Joshua John, with a past rap sheet, family ties to Oklahoma, and a dark trail. But here's the twist. Relatives swear he wasn't political. So what really drove him? The FBI is now digging deep into his criminal past, social life, and true motive. Was this a lone wolf meltdown or a radicalized act of left-wing violence?
We responded to the call, got to the scene, and we later learned that we had 4 individuals that were shot, 2 of them deceased, including the shooter.
The FBI has launched an investigation into the Dallas shooting at a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement facility. The FBI is treating the incident as a case of deliberate targeted violence. The attack left 1 detainee killed and 2 others in critical condition. The shooter then turned the rifle on himself. Officials have identified the suspect as 29-year-old Joshua John. He left behind ammunition scrawled with the words anti-ICE. Joshua John, a North Texas native, may have been living in Durant, Oklahoma. He was the son of parents with opposing political views, but staid apolitical relatives also said he never expressed opposition to ICE or strong political opinions. Bullet casings marked anti-ICE were found near his body, signaling motive. Jan grew up in Allen, Texas, and pleaded guilty to selling marijuana in 2016. He studied mechanical engineering, later switching to computer science courses. A blue Toyota Corolla linked to him had a map citing radioactive fallout since 1951. His brother said Joshua never expressed strong opinions against ICE or politics. FBI Director Kash Patel called the attack politically motivated and despicable. Patel said shell casings marked anti-ICE prove ideology fueled the attack, vowing justice for those who target officers with violence. He warned and vowed that the FBI will hunt down all who endanger law enforcement. FBI searched John's parents' Fairview home, as Dallas police said he may have also lived in Durant, Oklahoma, while probing his Movements Court records show John's 2015 marijuana arrest. He had a criminal record, probation, and a drifting life with no clear direction. But John's family told Reuters they never saw political hatred in him. Later, Trump blasted the Dallas ICE attack as a radical left assault, warning America's protectors are now targets in a growing war on law enforcement. Vowing action, Trump said he'll sign an executive order to crush domestic terror networks, fueling anti-ICE hate and unleashing chaos. Calling Democrats out, Trump demanded an end to anti-ICE poison, pledging ironclad backing for brave officers, strong borders, and America's safety.
And while we're all mourning and rooting for and praying for everybody who was injured at that ICE facility. And as far as we know, it looks like some of the detainees, in other words, some of the potential illegal aliens, were some of those who were affected. Look, just because we don't support illegal aliens, we don't want them to be executed by violent assassins engaged in political violence either. So we're praying both for our ICE agents, but also for everybody who's affected by this terrible attack. There's no police officers writ large face too many threats of violence all across the United States of America. And we know where it started. We all remember the summer of 2020 when all of these violent protesters were encouraged to treat police as the enemy instead of as the solution. Well, I would like everybody, whether a Democrat, a Republican, or an independent, especially those in political leadership, can we all just agree that our police officers are heroes, that they are public servants, and that the first and most important step of keeping all of us safe is to keep our police officers safe, because they are the thin blue line between civilization and chaos.
J.D. Vance also slammed anti-ICE rhetoric after the attack, warning those fueling violence against officers can go straight to hell. Calling the shooting a political outrage, Vance said violent rhetoric has no place in America's discourse or its political conversation. Vance declared law enforcement must never be demonized, stressing that disagreement on immigration cannot justify deadly hate against officers. ICE has long been at the center of Trump's deportation drive. To supporters, it is the shield of national security. To critics, it is the face of cruelty and overreach. This toxic polarization has fueled rage, resentment, and violent outbursts across the country. That divide is now bleeding into violent acts. This is not an isolated incident, but part of a troubling pattern of anti-ICE violence. Just 2 months ago, armed men stormed an ICE facility in Prairieland, injuring an officer. Now Dallas has become the latest flashpoint. America now faces a grave question. Is political violence the new normal? When law enforcement becomes the battleground, democracy itself stands wounded. The Dallas attack is a warning, and America cannot ignore it.
I can confirm at this time that the FBI is investigating this incident as an act of targeted violence. Early evidence that we've seen from rounds that were found near the suspected shooter contain messages that are anti-ICE in nature.
This is the third shooting in Texas directed at ICE or CBP. This must stop. To every politician who is using rhetoric demonizing ICE and demonizing CBP, stop. To every politician demanding that ICE agents be doxxed and calling for people to go after their families, stop. This has very real consequences.
London Mayor Sadiq Khan just dropped a bombshell, calling Donald Trump a racist, sexist, misogynist, and Islamophobic. This war of words erupted after Trump blasted Khan at the UN General Assembly, accusing London of sliding towards Sharia law. Khan hit back hard, reminding the world that he is a Muslim mayor leading a liberal, multicultural city. Funnily enough, Sadiq Khan has also said, "I think Trump has a crush on me. I live in his head rent-free." So is this just political mudslinging or a full-blown Trump versus Khan showdown shaking up US-UK ties?
I think President Trump has shown he is racist, he is sexist, he is misogynistic, and he's Islamophobic.
The White House just unveiled its flashy new presidential Walk of Fame. But instead of Joe Biden's portrait, there is a photo of a machine. Yes, an auto pen. Trump's allies are already spinning it as proof that Biden was not in charge as president, and they accuse his aides of running the show. Just political trolling or a brutal symbol that Biden's legacy is being written by a pen, not the president? Trump and his supporters argue it's the latter, while Democrats have lashed out at Trump and his administration, calling the move crass, petty and tasteless. Well, that's all the time we have on this edition of America 360. If you have been, thanks for watching. Do join us again at the same time tomorrow.